Hi, thanks for coming to my channel. My name is Carla and this is Living a Rogue Life. Today I want to talk about challenges of container gardening, and one of those is consistent watering. People tend to not water deep enough. When you have a container, you will walk by, you'll maybe fill it up once and you walk on, but containers drain quickly. So the soil is not actually absorbing all the water you put in. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But let me show you some of the tools that I am going to implement in my garden this year in order to be more proficient at watering. So there's a couple different tools. So let's start with the simplest first. In my smaller containers, I'm going to use something as simple as a water bottle. Just cut the end off of it, and then you will bury it in the pot about halfway down, and that gets the water to the roots. And then when you fill it up, you know that you can fill this twice and that your plant is going to be more than sufficiently watered. If you water shallow in the pot, what's going to happen is the plant's roots are all going to come to the top. And then you don't have a healthy plant because it's more susceptible to bugs and sun and just lots of different things that will affect it. You want the root system to grow down into the pot. If you look inside your pots, you will notice there is always a second ridge. This is as full as you should make your pot. Never fill it all the way to the top. That way when you come along to water, you'll fill this reservoir. This is, and you'll see this on all pots regardless of size. But you will fill this reservoir, let it drain down, soak down into the soil, and then fill it again. The second thing you can do, if you have bigger pots, which I do, and this, thanks to the captain, we'll be doing the same thing as we did with the water bottle, only we're going to be doing it in a bigger pot. So I will be burying this into a large pot, and that way when I come along and water, my water is going to get down into it. And if it doesn't, if the soil doesn't need the water, it'll sit here in this pot until it does. It's not going to continue and drain and flood your plant. The next thing you can do is stepping up, and I have large tubs that I bought from the big box store that I've used for planting my tomatoes and eggplant, my larger plants. When you buy a plant and you get this pot with the holes in the bottom, in the larger containers, I will actually bury this into the soil and have a plant on either side. And when I water, put the water in the pot. It'll drain out the holes, it'll be at root level, and it's easier to water. Plus you don't get the leaves of the plant wet, which helps cut down on diseases like your molds and your mildews that you can get on the actual leaves. The next thing I'm going to implement in my garden as far as watering, we're going to step up our game a little bit. I have a bed out front that's actually going to get a soaker hose, and this is going to be running underneath all of my squash, my summer squash, and that will allow me to prevent again, mildew on the squash, because squash is horrible with that. But okay, so soaker hose goes in the front yard. Water bottles and extra pots go in the small containers. The next watering trick I'm adding to my garden are grow bags. My grow bags are going to be filled with soil, set in a kiddie swimming pool, and the water will go into the kiddie swimming pool and wick up through the grow bag. And this year I will be planting corn in grow bags. Now this is a great idea, but there also, I have in my garden, I have what's called self-wicking pots. And that I'll put a link below in the description to Gardening with Leon, because that's where I think he's the one who invented it, or he's the one I learned it from. But it's basically how you put airspace and water at the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket, and you use PVC pipe to fill the bottom of the container. And I'll do a whole demonstration on that later, but that's another way to get deep watering, and it also conserves water. You're not overwatering, water's not running out on the ground. And last but not least, this This is my my jackpot I just got right here. So this is from Haas Tools, one of my favorite shows. And I saw them talking about this new product on their Row by Row garden show. And I will put a link to that below as well. Now, there are lots of moving parts on this that I haven't figured out yet. But what we have here is container watering kit. So this is, it's got mainline, it's got tubing, it's got everything you need to actually set up up to 40 containers, so that you can actually water each container individually by just turning on the faucet. So once I can get out into the garden and actually set this up, I will video that as well. So for all you Shed Warriors 21 out there, this is my garden innovation: how to upgrade watering in container gardens.